Hello and welcome to everybody out there in YouTube land and Discord land and any other damn land that you care to name. This video that I'm going to do is purely for my benefit. If you get any help out of it, that's absolutely fine. If not, well, not to worry. I'm using the AS33 available in Microsoft Flight Simulator for free. Just go to flightsim.to and download it. Going to be testing out a couple of things today. One is the effects of adverse yaw, and the other, I'm going to see if I can actually spin the damn thing. Apologies if the video is not up to the usual quality, but I'm bouncing it through my VR headset, through OBS Studio, and recording it. So that's kind of crunching up my processor quite significantly. Without further ado, I'm going to hit the road and get in the air. You can see we've got 16 knots, wind is straight from the west, so our west edge should be working. For those that want to fly in a beautiful part of the country, I'm at EGHV, which is the home of the Derbyshire and Lancashire Gliding Club. And just ahead of us now is the west edge, which should be working nicely, allow us to get some decent height. We'll go out in the valley and we'll try the adverse yaw and the spin. So without further ado, let us proceed with vigor and vim. Might help if I shut the It's a very short run. We've only got 450 meters, so I'll be pulling off as soon as we get over the edge. Like now, and turning onto the ridge. Get the wheel down. I'm just going to pick up some height and then we'll go out and do the exercises. Now, for those of you interested, I do have the Orbex 3D scenery for the UK, for this part of the UK. I think it was €16 or 16 Australian dollars. Well worth the money. It makes a massive difference to the standard Microsoft Flight Simulator offering. And for those that have that or are planning to get it, then I'm quite happy to give you my EGHV airport, which I've done some mods. For instance, that chimney that you can see over there is not around in the basic offering from Microsoft. They don't seem to be very good with their AI at picking up chimneys or television masts. If you look over there somewhere, you'll see a television mast. I put that in place as well. There are 3 of them around the area. They're repeaters because you do lose a signal when you get into the hills a little bit. Anyway, that's enough of that. Highly recommend Orbex. I can't remember what it's called. 3D scenery for UK or something like that. You have to buy it, but it's well worth it. The village that we're flying over at the moment is Bradwell, which is extremely well modelled. And if we've got time later, I might hop over to Tideswell and show you the other. So I've got 1,500 feet at the minute. I'm taking advantage of the fact that MSF's ridge lift is actually broken. It goes on way too high. I couldn't possibly get this height in these wind conditions in real life. I'd be stuck at around about 800 feet. But hey ho, hopefully when they release the official support for gliding, they'll have fixed that. We have told them about it enough times. And I happen to know all of this because I am a winch trainer at Derbyshire Lancashire Gliding Club. And I did check with my colleagues earlier on because they are flying for real right now. And 800 feet is about the top out height for today. I must say that they've got live weather about right. I did look through the webcam before I started this video. And the cloud density and height are about right. So, yeah, so that bit's all good. Okay, so I'm going to go out, first of all, and we'll do some adverse yaw. Now, adverse yaw can be as either a slip, which I'm going to do first, or a skid. Slip is when we put a stick in but no rudder, and a skid is when we put the rudder in and no stick. When I do the slip, I'm going to turn to the right. You'll see the nose swing out to the left and slightly upwards, and that's an uncoordinated turn, and that's the effect of adverse yaw kicking in. So I'm just going to straighten up for a minute, and then I'm going to kick the aileron in to the right. Watch the nose swing.
Note also the increase in the sink rate. That's the whole point about an adverse yaw, is it's not efficient.
We'll do another one to the left. Here we go.
So we're hitting 10 knots down now, which is not what you want because that's a massive loss of height.
So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to kick the rudder in with no stick. And what should happen is we should skid around in the direction of the turn. In real life, you get all kinds of bodily sensations. But then the wing should drop, and I'm going to have to pick it up. So here we go. Full rudder to the right. And there's the wing dropping. I need to center the rudder, straighten it up. Once more the other way. Left rudder. And then the nose starts to drop, and the wing starts to drop, and I pick it up. So that's adverse yaw. A criticism made by followers of a certain other sim saying it's not right. Well, actually, it is. And in actual fact, because this aircraft in real life is a high-performance aircraft, the adverse yaw is not quite as pronounced as that because the designers have done their best to design out the effects of it. So there's a little tweak that's been done by the developers. And if you roll your mouse button over the radio button at the top there, you get a little thing pops up when I can get it right. And then by hitting the scroll wheel, you can take the adverse yaw down to 0 and get rid of the effect altogether. Or you can put it up to 1, which is what I've got, which is full adverse yaw effect. So what height are we at? I need to get a bit more height before I try the spinning exercises. So I'm having to put a good amount of rudder in there to stop the effect of adverse yaw on the turn, to make sure that I fly accurately and as aerodynamically as possible, because obviously we're glider pilots and we don't tend to try not to throw away any height unnecessarily by doing crazy uncoordinated turns. Now, for the benefit of those that didn't watch the very start of the video, I have actually dumped the ballasts. So we're just treating it as a normal glider. We're on standard neutral flap. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is the second time I've done this exercise, because the first time I couldn't actually get it into the spin. I had to call a friend of mine up and say, here, how would you put an aircraft into a spin? It's quite easy to do it inadvertently, but when you try to do it deliberately, it's not quite as easy. All right, not to me anyway. My instructors will tell you it's a piece of cake, and what they will normally do is allow it to do 3 turns before they hand control back to you and say, right, get out of that, chum. Which is why I want the heights, because I know I'm going to lose about 600 feet when I get it correct, get it right. And the thing to note when we go into the exercise is that you can actually think you're in a spin when you're not. You're actually in a spiral dive. And the hallmark of a true spin is that the airspeed stays low throughout the maneuver until you start to correct and pull out of the spin, at which point the speed starts to increase and you need to ease out the dive before you hit VNE. And the first time I tried this, I did about 6 spiral dives, one after the other. The final one, I was a bit too low, and I did actually crash. I broke my own rule on that occasion, which is to make sure every flight in a simulator has a positive outcome. I don't like slewing. I definitely don't like crashing. I'd rather find a nice field somewhere and land in it positively than do any of those things. But that's just me. It's a simulator after all. You can have whatever fun you like. Right, so I'm just going to pull the speed back now. We're getting up there. Right, so let's get the trim back. I want to trim down, slow the speed up as much as possible. So there we're hitting 2,000 feet. I'm just going to go out in the valley. Normally I do some clearing turns to make sure there's nobody underneath me, but we'll dispense with that for today. Let's get away from the ridge. I've got an extra 800 feet to the valley floor, so I don't actually want to be over the airfield when I start this exercise. The chimney you can see over there is the Hope Valley Cement Works. It used to be a great beacon in the days when they used to use coal to see the smoke billowing out for miles. Very handy when you're trying to get back late at night on a cross country. But they don't use it with smoky fuel anymore, unfortunately. In fact, I'm not even sure they use it at all these days. I'm chunnering on, as you can see. Right, okay, let's get that speed up. Off. Let's get to about the stall, which we're at now. And now I just put some rudder in. Now you see that's a spiral dive. You saw the speed building up. Totally wrong. After about 6 goes last time, I managed to do it once. So it isn't perfect, but as Ian said, you tweak the flight model to cater for the spin. You tend to lose out on other things, but I did do it once. Let's try it one more time. Try a more aggressive stall. Well, that's a bit better. The speed is staying low, and now it's starting to build up again, so I better recover this. So if that was a bit jerky, my apologies, but the steeper everything you do in this, and with my processor and my graphics card, you tend to get some stutter building in. So that was a good spin. Speed stayed low. I didn't manage to get 3 turns out of it, but I wasn't going to hang around to try and find out. Let's try and do it one more time. So look, see where the airfield is, what height I've got. About 1,200 feet. I might be able to manage one more without doing myself any damage, which I wouldn't be allowed to do in real life, but hey ho. Right, so here we go again. So I'm putting the speed right back. It's gone into the red. Full is rudder. I'm hauling the stick back now to try and right. I better head for home. What have I got? 400 feet. Right, okay. That's 400 feet to the landing ground, by the way. It's 1,200 feet to the valley floor. And we get back on the ridge and we'll pick up some lift and we'll have a bit of fun before we land. So yeah, that's adverse yaw, skidding and slipping, and spinning. So all in all, and I just hope I remember to press the start record button. Oh, we'll find out in a minute anyway. Right, so I'm going to -2. I'm going to put some speed on, and we'll do a bit of what we call ridge bashing. The jutty out bit there is a place called Rebellion Knoll. That's the gully down there. And I'm going to flying super fast speed, getting as low as I can. And then we're going to go up into a chandelle, turn around and do the same coming back. So get to the end of Rebellion Knoll. I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute. Okay, so we need to get hugged into the side, and we should be able to get 100 knots on and not lose any height because we'll hit the lift in a minute. So here we go. Hug the sides. Get to the end of the run. And up we go. 90-degree turn. Bit of opposite rudder, using the rudder now as an elevator. And here we come again. Let's do a nice one. If you ever come to Camp Hill, guys, don't go into the gully there because there's some horrendous sink around. Keep out of it. Not sure whether that's modelled in the sim or not. I'll try it later. But in real life, yeah, it can catch you out. You know, we should get rid of this bloke in the cockpit with his blinking sunglasses on. It really annoy the hell out of me. Right, so let's get down below ridge height now in the final run, and then we'll come in and land. And while I'm at it on the landing, I'll explain some of the quirky things about this particular airfield. You might notice as we pass it that it's quite an undulating airfield, and I need to do a bit more tweaking of my airfield model because it's a bit... Oh, bollocks. Sorry about that. You may have noticed the connection loss message came up there. which is a bit annoying because it actually stops you using the controls while it's showing you the message, which is not good fun. So yeah, the ground sinks a bit more in real life than it does in the sim, and that can cause a fairly hefty wind gradient on a strong westerly day, because up here I'm getting 16 knots. Down on the airfield, I'm probably getting 8 to 10 knots. If I was in a 20 knot wind, I'd probably still only get 8 to 10 knots. So you can lose up to 10 knots of speed when you're coming into land on a westerly. So what that means is we tend to come in very fast, around about 65 to 70 knots, knowing that we're going to lose 10 knots. We get about 50, 60 feet off the ground, and it can come at you quite sharply. And I've got 1,000 feet. Coming up to 600 feet. And the other thing is, on a strong westerly, is don't go too far behind the back wall, because there is a clutching hand around there that will drag you down onto the moor if you're not careful. And you'll hopefully see when I do start that coming into land, which I'm going to do now, that as soon as you turn into wind, you're already in sync because you're coming off the agile ridge itself. So as you're coming into land, you'll start to lose height rapidly. So if you go too far behind, you'll either end up on the moor or you'll end up breaking your glider in half by hitting the dry stone wall that bounds the field. Just get the wheel down and go into landing configuration, and I'm going to be trying to hold it at 70 knots. You'll see why in a minute when I turn in. So in real life, there's a dry stone wall all the way around that airfield. I'm turning in now. I'll show you one more thing before I go, which is something that we do quite a lot. It saves the pennies. I've got the air brakes open. I've set a landing point and a reference point. I know I'm going to make it. Close the brakes and then go for the edge. So it's the nearest we can get in a glider to a touch and go. As soon as we hit the edge, we turn around. And we get our height back again. Yeah, so that sinking the ball wasn't actually modelled that well. Oh, that little man is so annoying. Go away. Actually, I wonder if I can just recenter this. Oh, that might be a bit better. Oh, he's gone now. Okay, so I'm getting back to ridge height. Do one more beat and get to about 600 feet, and then we'll come in. And this time we will land. There's a kid learning the recorder there. So yeah, having to put a fair amount of rudder in to get the coordination correct, which is what we want. If you're a rookie pilot, turn it off. But it's better to learn properly, because if you ever join a real gliding club, you won't be able to turn the adverse yaw off. So at this point, I will radio in and say, Campbell Base, FF403, downwind.
Right hand. That's actually going to seem counterintuitive in a minute, because you'll see me doing a left-handed turn. I'll explain why as we go along.
Now, I don't want to get much more height, so I'm just going to ease the brakes out a little bit. Put the gear down. Right, so we get to about level with Bradwell, and actually we make an outward turn. The reason why that is, if we go to the right and do the proper right-hand circuit, it will be in sync, and we don't want to be in sync until we've lined up with the back wall. So I'm holding 600 feet with a little bit of brake. If I start to come down too much, then I'll close the brakes and just go in. And I'm going to put the landing flaps on now, but I'm going to hold the speed. I'm going to trim forward. I need to keep the speed up. Got 17 knots at the minute. Just putting the brakes away to get the speed built up. We're turning in now. This is where you need the coordination. And the aircraft should start to slow up quite nicely now, because we're going directly into wind. In fact, I've got no brakes at the minute. Just put the brakes out now, and then start to slow up. And we're down. Open the brakes to spoil the airflow. Come to a stop. And that's a west wind landing at Camp Hill. Quite pleased with that. Right, that's all for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you get something from it. And hopefully, maybe Maverick, we can do some flying around here on one of these Friday nights. Give me a shout. Let me know. Cheers. Bye.